Hi, I'm Daniel Mullen, and you're watching Purebred Reds, Adelaide United Fan TV.
G'day guys, and welcome to the Purebred Reds, Adelaide United Fan TV. I'm your host, Ellis Gelios, joined in the studio today by Chris Adams. How are you, Chris?
Good, mate. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, good to get you in. Now we're here to obviously preview our big game on Friday evening against the Western Sydney Wanderers. We're in some form ourselves, Chris. Good win against the Mariners. 2-0, not really the greatest of showings, but great to get the result. Last Friday night, it is going to be our first trip to Bankwest as a club this year, and we'll talk more about that later on in the preview. Chris, game is a 7 p.m. kickoff away against the Wanderers on Friday night. As always, you can catch the game live on Fox Sports and the KO Sports app for those that are not travelling to the game. Now, in terms of squad news, lots going on. Michael Moroney, Ryan Kiddo and Cassini Yengi have all been named in the team this week. Cassini has had a long-term injury. He's been promoted. The Young Comets product, Cassini Yengi. Undoubtedly, the big news is the absence of Stefan Mauk for us with a quad injury, who's going to miss the game along with Lockie Brook, who has international duties. There's also still no word on when James Treacy and Ryan Strain will return to the first team, unfortunately. Now, just before we get into things, a few little did you knows before we get into things. There's been just one clean sheet kept by either side in Adelaide United's last 10 games away from home in the A-League. The Reds have managed only 4 wins in that stretch and lost 6. We have, just for the record, lost our 2 last encounters against the Wanderers as well. Western Sydney have made an average of 325 successful passes per game this A-League season, fewer than any other team in the comp. Reds winger Nikola Milausnic has been directly involved in 4 of our last 7 A-League goals against the Wanderers, 2 goals and 2 assists. Make anything of that in particular?
Not really, no, because I think even though we've had sort of this mini sort of stretch of form, I don't think we've been that impressive, and I'm just a little this game doesn't sit well with me at the moment.
No, not with me either, and we're going to touch on that. Before we do though, let's just quickly dissect the Mariners game. 78 really frustrating minutes where, if anything, we were hanging on at times. The woodwork came to our saviour on one occasion as well. This was a game that we really needed to win. We did, but it could have gone either way, and thankfully things took a good turn for us when Mohamed Toure came on and Riley McGree and George Blackwood really combining as well to ensure that we got over the line. But geez, Chris, we rode our luck against the Mariners, and surely it has to be a concern.
Yeah, it does. The game was earmarked as a sort of banana skin game, and it may well could have been if it wasn't for probably the most exciting 10 minutes of the season, in my opinion. We were destined to at least draw that game 0-0 or even lose it. Alan Stadic, their coach, said that Adelaide got lucky here, and I agree. I thought it was really embarrassing that we were just absolutely played off the park by a team that is once again contesting for the wooden spoon.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely, and I'm glad you brought up the whole banana skin concept, because I feel like it's very much similar this week against Western Sydney, because there's no doubt that this is a dangerous proposition for us. They've won their past 2 against us, as previously mentioned, including the 3-2 upset at Cooper Stadium earlier on this season, which was a game marred by some very controversial circumstances. For those that can remember, VAR had a lot to do with it. They were booed off by their own fans last weekend against Newcastle Jets. Surely they're going to have plenty of fire in the belly when they come up against us on Friday night. What do you reckon?
I think that they'd be looking for a response, especially I was not aware of them being booed off the park by their own fans, and that will really drive players. I think that's a proper wake-up call for them, because they haven't had very good form. But I'm just worried personally about both our away form, which I'm not sure if we're going to talk about that more, but in 8 games we've only won 3 of them, and they've been against two bottom half teams, and then one Western United who, for all we know, I believe Mike Redan's lost the dressing room there. So again,
I would just highlight the fact that aside from Sydney, pretty much every A-League club is untrustworthy away from home this season.
Yeah, good point. I just am a little worried.
Yeah.
Simple as that. I know they're out of form as well, but our three away wins in 8, and then everything else was losses. There were games that we should have at least taken it to them, and we didn't. Is
the whole caretaker coach ordeal going on there, John Paul de Marigny taking over from the sack Marcus Babbel, is that an extra driver as well, or do you think the players are sort of really just playing for themselves, if anything, at this point in time?
No,
they are still very much a chance to finish 6th. They're only 5 points off, and they've got a game in hand as well.
I don't believe in the caretaker coach effect, so to speak. I think that any sort of response you see is the players reinvigorated just because the coach that was holding them back is gone.
Yeah.
But it happens so much where it happened with Brisbane, where they had their caretaker coach. Last season, they showed some fight after, I can't remember who their coach was, the Aloises were sacked. They showed some fight, but they weren't really more tactically astute than they were before.
Yeah.
It happened with United under Valkanis a few years ago. This is going back start of last decade, where we weren't tactically better, but we were just fighting games, and that's why we got a couple of results. And I think the same could be said here. They're just going to fight for pride and for themselves to try and prove themselves as players, especially if they need to win a contract under a new coach. But I don't really see them being any more difficult to break down than under Barble. They're just going to be mentally, there'll be a mental change, but won't really matter tactically wise.
Yeah, it's real interesting. It's an unpredictable encounter, this one, because both sides really didn't play their best coming off their previous fixtures. Western Sydney, very strongly criticised by the Fox Sports pundits. Really good first 20 minutes, and then just lost their way completely. Really allowed Newcastle to get back into the game, and obviously Newcastle Jets clearly now rebuilding. Whilst the Wanderers, this was meant to be their season of showing the roots from their previous season, which was considered their rebuild.
Yeah.
So the fact that they're still in with a mathematical possibility to make the finals, but played so poorly against the Jets, that they were really harshly criticised, and Mitchell Duke came out and said it's plainly not good enough, and he's the captain, obviously. So unfortunately, I feel like had they won 1-0 and still played as poorly as they had, they wouldn't have been anywhere nearly badly as criticised. Yeah. And hopefully that might have allowed them to drop their guard a bit for our encounter. But I feel like because they didn't win the game and played poorly, they're gonna come out all guns blazing, particularly being a home game for them on Friday. So that's why I'm really apprehensive about being confident of our chances here. But in saying that, we were standing outside Cooper Stadium previewing the game against Melbourne City 3 weeks ago, and we both thought we had no chance on that one, and we came up trumps 2-0 or 3-1, whatever it was. So I mean, you never know. You never know with most teams in the A-League at the moment. Everyone's just really unpredictable and taking points off each other. But anyway, Chris, we'll press on. So how should Gertjan Verbeek approach this game after we were largely frustrating in parts against the Mariners last week, despite winning, obviously? How do you think he sets out?
I have no clue, to be honest.
We saw a bit of a change in formation going into that second half. Should he tinker with anything outside of the norm of what we've seen this season? I
think we needed to change formation because we didn't have a right back on the field.
Yes.
And that was something that we were forced into doing, as opposed to we're proactive in doing so, if you know what I mean. Selection-wise, we don't have Mork to play right back, but we have hopefully Maroney, and I know Maroney had an abdominal knock, so he should be straight into the lineup. He should be straight into the starting 11, unless he's trained like crap and he's only in there because of his stock. He should be straight into the 11 at right back, and that solves that problem. Look, I just don't. I feel as a fan, you can almost, in every team, there's always some answer that you can speculate about. You can say, okay, the coach can change this and change this, tactics or selection-wise. And I just can't really see, as a fan, what to do. I personally want to see Boland start in midfield. He looked very good off the bench last week. He's looked good off the bench in the last few weeks, actually.
I agree.
But does he keep going with Opseth? Does he put Blackwood up there? I can't see much, and that really worries me as a fan, because like under Kurtz last year, we were always saying it's his selection. That's the problem there. There's a glaring issue with either waiting for players to come back from injury or him selecting the wrong players. But under Verbeek, we have a good squad right now. Apart from Troisi, who has been one of our best players this season, and Mauk, who's out, and Toure, we have a full squad.
Yeah.
And I've got no clue what to do.
For me, they're lacking a lot of attacking creative impetus, Wanderers. Do you just soak it up and then in transition just rely on our pace to score goals against the break? I
think if Verbeek wants to opt with that, then it could work. It worked against Melbourne City. We have like McGree, Halloran, Milosnic, who are like three of the fastest players in the league.
And they've been defensively very poor.
So that's something that I'd hope to exploit. If Wanderers have been poor in converting chances, then maybe. But I just don't think we have the stock either. I don't think we have the defensive quality to just park it and then play on the counter. I'd like to see us playing through, just trying to play our game. But again, as I said, I've really got no clue anymore.
Let's discuss the main headline coming out of our football club over the past week. No question, it's young 15-year-old Mohamed Toure, who came on as a substitute late on against Mariners and made a very big impact. As soon as he got on the ball, he was just ignored probably all instructions to play conservatively and just did what you want to see a young player do. Just went for it, took on players, and geez, you'd be forgiven for thinking he's not 15. The way he just bruised past some of the Mariners defenders who are of equal height and stature. But Mohamed Toure, the talking point right now, 2 very successful cameos in 2 weeks. What does Verbeek do with him? I mean, you get the feeling he's not going to start him, but should he?
No.
No?
I don't think he should be started yet. I haven't felt this excited about a young prospect since probably Abel Mabil, to be honest.
Good call.
2 cameos against Brisbane. You could be forgiven for saying he changed the game. I think he did.
He definitely gave us a lift.
We didn't get a goal out of it.
Yeah.
He did change the complexion of our attack going forward.
Well, didn't he play it to Blackwood, who scored?
I'm talking about the Brisbane game.
Oh, the Brisbane game. Sorry. Yeah.
But against the Mariners, yes, he absolutely changed the game.
Yeah.
I don't think we would have got the win if he didn't come on. But I think he's only 15. He's young. Even though he's shown that he's got a lot of quality, a lot of sort of tricks up the sleeve, I don't think he's ready to start yet. We have some players who are consistently in the team and they should be starting. But maybe if we need him, start him earlier, or not start him. Sorry, bring him off the bench earlier. He's the youngest ever goal scorer in the league, and the place went off when he scored. And there's a lot of excitement around him. I just don't want to be. I don't want to be exposing him too much straight away, because if you're not careful with players,
we saw it with his own brother, didn't we?
Especially given that he's 15. Our son Toure was as 18, 19.
Yeah.
We need to be conservative with him until he develops and gets a bit more experience, and we need to make sure that we don't have another T-Boy Kamara. I understand T-Boy had his own health problems.
Yeah.
But
you don't want to overhype young players.
I want to see him be gradually integrated into the squad in the next two seasons. Yep.
We're going to talk about a former Reds player who had a really fantastic day out for the Wanderers in their game against Newcastle last weekend. So he might have had a few quiet years since leaving us, but the speedy winger Bruce Cameo, he was absolutely brilliant for the Wanderers in their draw against the Jets. He tore up Newcastle fullback Bobby Burns, who had been the best on ground for the Jets in their previous game, which is significant. Now, could Cameo pose a huge threat against us on Friday evening, particularly if he's deployed in that unpredictable wing-back role for the Wanderers? What do you reckon?
Well, he did score against us the end of last season.
Yeah, I remember, yeah.
It's quite a good goal. We know what to expect from Cameo at his best, because we saw his best when he played for us. But I think he's just lost his way since leaving us. I think he has too, yeah.
This might be a calling to bring him back in.
I wouldn't mind seeing him back,
I'd take him back, 100%.
I'd take him back, yeah, definitely. I don't think he's actually that outstanding as a wing-back. I saw him play right back and then as a wing-back under Barble, and from what I see, I didn't watch the Newcastle game, but from what I saw of him when he played that position previously, he was very average. He was
all over the park against the Jets.
Yeah,
he was really good.
Form is a big thing. It's off camera. I actually said to Ellis, I called Bobby Burns a crossing merchant. I didn't think he was anything more than that, and so it doesn't really surprise me that he got ripped up.
Fair enough.
Look, if he's playing that right fullback and he's coming up against Maria, who has shown he's potentially a defensive liability, then now that I think of it, maybe there is cause for worry if he's on his game. But if he's not on his game, he's nowhere. He's not doing anything.
I think particularly if Maria is playing as the left fullback, which we assume he's going to be, that's they'll be trying to get the ball out to Bruce as often as they can, because he looked to me like what I was seeing in the 15-16 grand final at Adelaide Oval. He was just hungry for it. He was demanding the ball. He was tracking back as quick as anyone I've seen in the league this season. I think he's going to be on form again, and I'm worried by him personally, because the Wanderers don't have a whole lot going forward, particularly pace. But Bruce had a very good game. Now, it'll probably be the only time that we visit Bankwest Stadium this season. We're yet to play there, as we know. But the Wanderers look very unlikely to be making finals, so I doubt, given we've only got them twice this season, this will be the last time in the regular season that we play them that we'll visit Bankwest again. Is it something to actually look forward to for the players and us as fans? Like, I mean, so much made about this venue, how next gen it kind of is with the stand-up seating arrangement that they've got there for the active supporters. It's a real sort of tight-knit, proper European atmosphere when everyone packs it in, which unfortunately for the Wanderers hasn't really been happening this, well, understandably. When the football's bad and the results aren't there, you can't expect a lot of people to be coming, and the weather's been bad there too in their defence. But for us as the opposition, is there much to look forward to?
There's always the novelty of playing at a new stadium, especially one that's been engineered to represent European stadiums like that. I don't think the stadium will make a big difference to the players, to our boys, especially if the weather's crap or they have another poor showing in attendance. It wouldn't be the first time, and I just think it's kind of ironic given that all the Wanderers fans were sort of plugging this season. I understand it's gone pear-shaped on the field, but plugging this season as the year the RBB returned and the crowd's numbers going to get back up to what it was when they were playing at Purebred Stadium.
To be fair, the RBB has still turned out, but probably not in the kind of intimidating fashion you'd like as a Wanderers fan. But it is our first trip there, so it'll be interesting to see how we take to the game against the Wanderers playing in that new venue for the first time. Now, your prediction?
Oh boy, it's not going to be a draw. No, I'm saying that probably will be, but I think...
If it is, as we know, it'll be the first one for us this season, which is quite unbelievable.
It's a weird stat.
20 games in.
I'd like to see if that's ever happened in the league before.
Yeah.
After this period of time.
Definitely don't think it has.
But look, I'm just worried about this team, to be honest. I think if it'll be, once again, I'm going to make it a call like this, I'll say it'll be a 1-goal margin. I have no idea if we'll win or lose it. I reckon they'll win, to be honest. I reckon Western Sydney will get up on us.
Here's to hoping not. If they do, is there a scorer involved for Adelaide United, and if so, who? And what do you think the score will be?
I think maybe a 2-1 to them. Halloran or McGree will be involved.
You feel like if anyone's going to score a goal, it's McGree.
Yeah, of course.
McGree will have some part in it. Yeah, I'm not sure what to make of this one. I might sit on the fence and go draw. 1-1, and for me, I think Nicola is going to get back on the score sheet and have an improved performance, because he's had a few downward spiral sort of games in the past month. But here's to hoping Nicola gets back amongst the goals. For me, it's going to be a 1-1 draw, and I think Bruce Cameo will score for Western Sydney, and it'll be the last time he scores against us, because he'll be back here.
He'll be back next season.
We're gonna slowly try and reassemble that, or the remnants, the best amount of remnants from that 15-16 champion squad that we can, ignoring the retired players, of course. Anyway, Chris, before we go, let's talk about next weekend.
Yeah.
Huge game. Disappointing news that unfortunately the rectangular configuration for Marvel Stadium will not occur, and that they will stick to the oval configuration because of there being a football, as in AFL, fixture of some form
the night
before, which is annoying for the travelling fans. But we want to try and get everyone out there in the best way that we can. So victory away, there's nothing better. Red Army Tour of Duty.
Tour of Duty 2020, as I'm calling it, at least. Yeah, we are going to be assembling at the Crafty Squire about 3 p.m. Victorian time. Kick off 7:30 Victorian time, 7 p.m. here. It's massive. Simple as that. There's no reason, unless you have some sort of plans that week that a die-hard fan can't make the trip over. I think airfares are still fairly cheap.
Yeah.
Come over. Simple as that. Red Army can offer a 15% ticketing discount. View the event details on our page as well. And I'll also just plug tomorrow evening for the Wanderers game. Head over to the Brompton Hotel and enjoy a free first beer on the Red Army.
That's a big little giveaway there.
Yeah. So that should be that's our sort of pre-Melbourne victory event. Come and have a free beer with the Red Army and
beautiful. Enjoy
the game with your brothers in arms, and hopefully we'll see you all next week in Melbourne, because it's going to be massive. I'm so excited.
I feel like this is one of the only times in so long where you can actually go away to Melbourne feeling confident of a result, because think about it, like I don't think they're going to make finals. I think internally they've probably written their own chances off right now, and they're putting all their eggs in the Asian Champions League basket. They've been so poor in the league.
Yeah.
We've done them twice this season. I know it's easy to get up for big games, but you feel like, travelling to Melbourne, where it's usually not good for us, this is one of the only times where you can actually go feeling really confident.
This has shades of our post-championship season, where we were sitting around sort of 10th, 9th.
Yeah.
Weren't going to make finals and just throw it all at the Champions League. And hopefully, I've never personally seen us win at a Melbourne victory away trip. Ellis and I have seen Knights away. That was my only away trip win.
Yeah.
So
in Melbourne, yeah.
Hopefully, I've been waiting. It's been a fair few trips over, and we just haven't got it done. So
absolutely. But talking about victory aways for another day for now. It's all about Western Sydney away on Friday evening at Bankwest Stadium. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you share the video, like the page, and stay in tune with Purebred Reds. So much more content yet to be released. So stay on board, and thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys soon. And up the Reds. Cheers, guys.